Good afternoon, everyone. So today we will go ahead and we will discuss as to what you should be preparing for your Jamia exam and how you should be going ahead and preparing that, right? So first of all, try to understand the syllabus of Jamia. Try to see what all you need to go ahead and cover from the point of view of Jamia exam. So let's talk about microeconomics, beta. In microeconomics, you will be going ahead and you will be focusing on utility functions as usual, right? So when I talk about utility functions, basically you will be going ahead and you will be doing all kind of utility functions like min, max, quasi-linear. Now, special focus has been given in the syllabus on quasi-linear preferences. So isko अच्छे से करना ही करना है. So that means you need to do functions like u is equal to ln x plus y, u is equal to root x plus y. These kind of utility functions you will go ahead and you will do for sure because they can be asked in your exam. ये आपके exam में आ ही सकते हैं. So make sure that you revise them well. The second thing that you have to make sure is that you do the demand functions well. So if you remember, we have already gone ahead and we have studied that if it is a Cobb-Douglas utility function, then x star will be alpha upon alpha plus beta m by px, y star will be beta upon alpha plus beta m by py. इस चीज को अच्छे से पढ़ लेना है ना. You need to focus on the law of demand, law of supply, of course. यहीं पे you will go ahead and you will focus on Marshallian demands. Right? So for example, if I just go ahead and tell you that u is equal to 2x plus y and I tell you px is equal to 4 and py is equal to 7 and I ask you find x star and y star or find the optimal bundle and I give you 4 options, so you should be able to go ahead and you should be able to tell the optimal bundle. तो उसके लिए आपको पता होना चाहिए that you will go ahead and equate MRS to px by py. And if this is the condition, then you will consume only good y. If MRS is going to be px by py, you will consume only good x. So ये comparison करके you will be able to find the answer. Then you need to be very clear with substitution effect and total effect. You should know what is a price offer curve. You should be very aware about what is an income offer curve. इसी में you have to be well aware beta about what is what is the inverse or inverse U-shape price offer curve. ये कब होता है? How given goods look, given goods का demand curve कैसा होता है? That should be something you should be aware about. Then the next thing that you should be well aware about is consumer surplus and producer surplus and total surplus. ये calculate करना आना चाहिए. So for example, if I just give you a demand curve कि P is equal to 40 minus 3Q and I ask you find consumer surplus if price is equal to 20, you should be able to go ahead and find this out, right? Then the next thing that you have to be well aware about is what is the difference between returns to scale, variable proportion, and economies of scope. तो economies of scale क्या होता है, economies of scope क्या होता है और law of variable proportion क्या होता है. You have to remember that returns to scale is a long run concept, whereas law of variable proportion is a short run concept. This can be asked in exam. Then you have to be aware about the elasticity of substitution beta. है ना? तो जैसे if I just go ahead and I give you a production function y is equal to root KL. So we know that this is a Cobb-Douglas production function. And in Cobb-Douglas production function, ये बात हमें पता है कि Cobb-Douglas production function का elasticity of substitution 1 होता है. So you have to be aware about the elasticity of substitution of different production functions. Then beta, you need to focus on marginal rate of technical substitution of different production functions. है ना? तो जैसे अगर मैं आपको बोल दूं कि the MRTS is not defined for, तो हमें पता है that if I have a king isoquant, right? So MRTS is not defined at the point of king, right? So MRTS is not defined for kinged isoquants at the point of king. So ये जो features हैं, you need to be aware about these features. Then you need to be very aware about what is the difference between implicit versus explicit cost function. ये बात जाननी आपको जरूरी है. Then all market forms बेटा, चाहे मोनोपोली हो, ओलिगोपोली हो, है ना, whether you have who is a discriminating monopolist, first degree, second degree, third degree. ये बहुत it's a very I can say favorite question of Jamia, that they will ask you on price discrimination. तो इसको अच्छे से हमें समझना है. Then बेटा, if you go to my basic video lectures, वहां पे ना हमने factor theory किया हुआ है एक बारी, in which we have studied कि how do you find equilibrium in the factor market. Right बेटा, उसको अच्छे से कर लेना, that is important, equilibrium in the factor market. Then if you remember, we have done in the intermediate video lectures, you will find theory of profit, जहां पे मैंने iso profit curve समझाया हुआ है. I have taught you what is an iso profit curve, right? So that is important. Please try to read that out also once. Then you will go ahead and you will also talk about some growth models, जैसे Schumpeter theory of profit, है ना. So he focused on innovation, है ना, and he focused on entrepreneurs. उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा you should be aware about that. Then beta, we will move on to macroeconomics, and in macroeconomics I will start by telling you कि आपको सबसे पहले तो classical versus Keynes को revise करना है. So first thing you need to be aware about what is classical versus Keynes. अच्छे से इनके सारे features हमें पता होने चाहिए. We should be aware about what happens, who told about full employment, है ना. We should be aware about who is father of economics. कभी कभी basic question can be asked. Then you have to be aware about the national income. So all methods of calculating GDP, personal disposable income, private income, everything from class 12th, income का सब कुछ करना है. Then you have to be aware about consumption theories, है ना. जैसे if I ask you who gave the relative income hypothesis, right? What is Duesenberry's hypothesis called, right? Who gave the hypothesis of absolute income? Modigliani gave which of the following hypothesis? अलग अलग तरीके से if I ask you questions, you should be aware about who gave which hypothesis. ये आपको एकदम clear होना चाहिए. So you have to be very clear with absolute income hypothesis, हाँ, with permanent income hypothesis, with relative income hypothesis. ये तीन तो अच्छे से करनी ही करनी है. And apart from this, you should be aware that Fisher had given intertemporal consumption hypothesis, है ना. So Fisher told that consumption has to take place in 2 periods. उसके बारे में भी आपको discuss करना है. Okay बेटा, apart from this, then you will focus on your investment theories. So if you remember, we have already done marginal efficiency of capital. इस चीज को आप revise करोगे. You will focus on MEC, and you will also talk revise back Tobin's Q, important, huh? And investment multiplier and accelerator model. All these 3 are available on your portal, and you will go ahead and revise this. उसके बाद बेटा you will revise ISLM model and talk about the multiplier. एक बारी multiplier को अच्छे से revise करोगे. So multiplier question can be given with or without proportional tax, है ना. So for example, if I just go ahead and I tell you that the tax rate is 10%, MPC is this much, find out multiplier, तो भी आपको multiplier निकालना आना चाहिए, right? तो जैसे example, this is a question that was asked in last year's paper. तो क्या दिया गया था that y is equal to c plus I plus g, and c was given to you as a minus b y minus t naught, and g was given to you as small g of y. And then they were asking you what is the meaning of g? What is the meaning of g? तो हमें ये बहुत clear है that the meaning of small g is nothing. तो अगर मैं यहाँ से एक बारी देखूं तो I will be able to find out that g dg by dy is small g. That means change in government expenditure due to change in income is small g. So जब इनकम 100 रुपए से बढ़ती है तो गवर्नमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर इंक्रीजेस बाय द अमाउंट ऑफ जी. सो इट इज द प्रपोर्शन ऑफ इनकम स्पेंड ऑन गवर्नमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर एंड दैट्स द आंसर. तो ऐसे क्वेश्चन एग्जाम में आ सकते हैं. दे में जस्ट वेरी थिंग्स अ बिट, राइट, एंड दे में आस्क यू दीज क्वेश्चंस. So you have to be aware about this kind of questions. Am I making sense? Right? तो when I say government multiplier does not mean कि एकदम direct government multiplier ही पूछ लेंगे. It just means that they may tweak the question a bit and then they may ask you these kind of questions. Okay, beta. Then there may be questions which may be asked on. There will be questions which will be asked on your open economy. है ना? They may ask you questions on Mundell-Fleming model. They may go ahead and ask you questions on BOP. They may go ahead and ask you questions on. So, just for example, if I just go ahead and ask you a question on asking you on, say, what happened? What happens when there is increase in interest rate in one of the economies, right? How will the economies flow? So we know that when the interest rate in one of the economy increases, there is movement of the capital from one economy to another, and this is how the interest rate subsidizes. है ना? So this kind of question can be asked in exam, and you have to be aware about these kind of questions. ठीक है जी? समझ रहे हो बात को? Okay. So now the next thing that you have to go ahead and you have to focus on is going to be your business cycles. Right, beta? And then all kind of inflation, demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, Phillips curve, unemployment, Okun's law, ये सब भी आपको revise करना है. So Phillips curve, Okun's law, and different types of inflation theories needs to be revised, right, beta? Then let's talk about econometrics and statistics. So in econometrics and statistics, beta, you need to revise mean, median, mode, standard deviations, all things, huh? Weighted mean, variance, coefficient of variation, okay? All these things you have to do, huh? Okay, so for example, if you again go back to the previous year's papers, you will realize that there have been questions on mean, median, and variance also. तो ऐसा कुछ दे देंगे. So for example, this is a 2022 question. जिसमें I tell you that there were 10 days, and on these 10 days, the following were the number of checks that got bad by a bank: 18, 15, 13, 12, 8, 3, 7, 14, 16, and 3. The bank had these bad checks on different days. And I ask you to find the mean and variance of bad checks. It's a simple question. There is nothing. You just find the mean, sum these observations, divide by 10, find the mean. You will get the mean as 10.9. Or फिर just do summation xi minus x bar whole square divided by 10. तो हर observation को 10.9 से subtract करो, square it out, add these together and divide by n. So such kind of questions can be asked in exam. समझ रहे हो? Okay, so simple question, it will take a little time to solve them, but it is otherwise an easy question to be taken. Okay. So one thing I forgot before I go ahead, in microeconomics, make sure that आप एक बारी budget line के ऊपर जो हमने बेटा budget line oriented questions जो किए हुए हैं ना, in which there is tax or subsidy due to which budget line will pivot, वो वाले क्वेश्चंस को रिवाइज कर लेना. एंड सिमिलरली मेक श्योर दैट यू डू न्यूमेरिकल ऑन रिस्क और अनसर्टेनिटी. मेक श्योर दैट यू रिवाइज देम वेल, है ना? तो अनसर्टेनिटी पे जो भी हमारे न्यूमेरिकल्स हैं, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल इफ आई गिव यू अ यूटिलिटी फंक्शन, राइट, u is equal to root w, and I find expected utility if the person makes loss of all wealth 10% of the time and his wealth is 100. ऐसा कुछ. So you should be aware about all these basic numericals on risk or uncertainty. ठीक है. Then what you will go ahead and you will do here. So then the next topic is probability beta. So probability and distributions. So if I give you a simple question, just if I tell you ki there are 200 observations and the probability that I will hit a 6 is given to me as 0.5, right? And probability I will hit a non-6 is given to me as 0.5. Find the average number of 6 that I will hit. Right? So simple. We know कि binomial distribution में जो average होता है, that is n into p. So you will do 200 into 0.5. If I ask you find the variance of the 6s I hit, so NPQ. So 200 into 0.5 into 0.5. So these kind of questions are important and you need to revise these kind of questions also. उसके बाद you will go ahead and you will revise beta all continuous distributions, right? So you will go ahead and do discrete also and continuous also. Please make sure कि normal distribution की आप properties को revise कर लो, that it's a symmetric distribution, the area under the curve has to be 1. Make sure that you do these kind of questions well. Then beta there can be question on regression models also. Not very difficult question, basic question आएंगे, but regression model can be asked in exam. So for example, if I just say I just give you a question, let me think. So suppose I tell you that you are given that there is a model, right? This is a 2022 question, right? And you're given this model, yi is equal to beta 1, x2i, beta 2i, x3i, beta 3i, and ei, ui. And I ask you, find out. So I tell you that yi is output, x2i is labor, and x3i is capital, right? And I ask you, find out the hypothesis for constant returns to scale, So this is a Cobb-Douglas model, beta. We have already done in econometrics that this Cobb-Douglas model can be converted to a log-log model. So if I just take log on both sides, I will get ln y is equal to ln beta 1 plus beta 2 ln x2y plus beta 3 ln x3i plus ui. Ln e is just 1. Log of exponent is 1 plus ui. अच्छा, we know that these betas, इनको हम क्या बोल देते हैं? These are called as elasticities of output with respect to input. Elasticity of output with respect to input. And we know that if I need to check whether what is the returns to scale, I need to add these coefficients together. So अगर ये 1 हुआ, it is a CRS. If it is greater than 1, IRS, and if it is less than 1, then DRS. We have done this in econometrics already, beta. है ना? So my null hypothesis must be that beta 2 plus beta 3 equal to 1. This must be my null hypothesis. है ना? I want to check this for constant returns to scale. So this kind of questions are important. तो इसके लिए आपको अपना econometrics को thoroughly revise करना जरूरी है. You have to go back to the econometrics lecture, revise the regression models, revise the CLRM assumptions well, right beta? Revise the time series modeling also in a bit. इसको बहुत डिटेल में नहीं करना है. It is never asked in exam. Just know what is the time series model and that should be enough. Okay. Then beta, the next thing that you have to do is mathematical economics, MME. है ना? And when I talk about MME, तो MME में what all we have to do beta? Set, relation, function. MME में whatever you have revised with me for CUET, that much maths is enough and you just have to redo that maths. उतना maths कर लो, more than enough है, और कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है. So you have to go back and do limit, continuity, wahi sub topics beta. Limit, continuity, integration, convexity and concavity of the function, saddle point, point of inflection, ठीक है, and cobweb model जो हमने यहाँ पे पढ़ा हुआ है, right? We have studied this ना, so differential equation, difference equation, right beta, and solution to system of equation. Make sure that you just do all of these things very well. So let me give you some examples of maths question that can be asked in exam. बहुत simple आने वाला है. I can tell you maths is the simplest इसमें. So suppose I tell you, I give you a function beta, y is equal to 3x upon 1 minus x. And I tell you find second order and third order derivatives. है ना? So how will you find the second order derivative? पहले dy by dx निकाल लो. Differentiation of numerator, denominator as it is, minus differentiation of denominator, numerator as it is, upon denominator whole square, right? Upon denominator whole square. So this is going to be 3 minus 3x plus 3x upon 1 minus x whole square. This will be 3 upon 1 minus x whole square. Now you are supposed to go ahead and find out d square y by dx square. So isko I can rewrite this as 3 1 minus x to the power minus 2. है ना? So 3 power comes down, power reduces by 1 into the differentiation of this, which will be minus 1. So this will be minus 6, 1 minus x to the power minus 3 into minus 1, 6 upon 1 minus x to the power 3. Right? And that will be your answer. समझ रहे हो बात को? So question is very, very simple. अब इसी का third order derivative, I am leaving it to you to find it out. ऐसे ही, the other thing that can be asked to you in exam is something like this. So it says that you are tossing the coin 6 times, है ना? And you need 2 head and you need 4 tails. ठीक है? So you can consider that let head be my success, right? And tail be my failure. Probability of success be half hoga. When you toss a coin, half probability of head, half of tail. Probability of failure be half hoga. So out of 6, I need 2 head. P to the power 2. Q to the power 6 minus 2, which is 4. So 6C2 half to the power 2, half to the power 4. So this will be 6 factorial, 2 factorial, 4 factorial, half to the power 6. And just solve this. Are you understanding this? This will be 6 into 5 by 2 to the power 7. By 2 to the power 7. So these are the number of ways in which we can go ahead and get, this is going to be, this is going to be the probability of getting 2 head when 6 coins are tossed. Probability of getting 2 heads when 6 coins are tossed. So this kind of question can be asked in exam. ऐसे ही, suppose, you know, there was this question that came very simple again. So you are given a function y, and y is given to you as 2x1 cube minus 11x1 square x2 plus 3x2 cube. And now what I'm asking you to do, I'm asking you find del y by del x1 and find out del y by del x2. So now you have to find the partial derivative. So we know that when I will find del y by del x1, x2 is a constant. So differentiation of this will be 6x1 square minus 11x1 square. So x1 square differentiation will be 2x1 into x2 plus 0. There is no x1 in this. So this will be 6x1 square minus 22x1 x2. Right? Right? So simple questions, beta. In maths, I don't see anything very tough being asked in the past year papers. And I think you will be able to go ahead and do this questions well. Similarly, if I go ahead and I ask you, say, for example, if I just, there were also questions on based on a table. So I want you to go ahead and check those questions also. So if I just go ahead and I ask you something like this, suppose that you're given 3 to the power x is equal to 2 to the power x plus 1, find x. Find x. So this is going to be, you can take log on both sides, beta. So log 3 to the power x is equal to log 2 to the power x plus 1. X log 3 is equal to x plus 1 log 2. है ना? Right? तो बेटा x log 3 is equal to x log 2 minus log 2. So x log 3 minus x log 2 is equal to minus log 2. So this is plus. Not sure why I made it to be minus. So x log 3 minus log 2 is equal to log 2. So x will be log 2 divided by log 3 minus log 2. We know log m minus log n is log m by n. So you can also do this as log 2 divided by log 3 by 2. So this is going to be log 2 upon log 1.5. Right? Just solve this. That's it. Right? So questions are not very difficult when it comes to maths part especially. The only thing that you have to do is you have to revise your basics well. Okay, beta. So at last, after this, I want all of you to revise one last thing, which is DevEco. DevEco के कुछ models अच्छे से कर लेने हैं. So we need to do Solo model well. And then we need to do Harrison to Darrow model well. Then we need to do the Schumpeter model well, right? Innovation theory. Then we need to go ahead and we need to focus on the Harris के साथ to Darrow लिख लो, है ना? Let me think if any other model is important. Do some of the just know the name of some of the other models also. They may not be asked in exam, but just know the name. ठीक है? जैसे endogenous growth theory का just remember कि एक ये model ऊपर से what it says, that is enough. हाँ, उतना काफी रहेगा जानना. Then apart from this, go ahead and do some of the other development theories. जैसे you should know inequality, Lorentz curve, Gini's coefficient. है ना? Very recently, I have recorded a most important questions of Gini's coefficient. If you go to the live section of the YouTube channel of Artha Point, वहां पे आपको Gini's coefficient पे 10 most important questions मिलेंगे. Revise those important questions well. Then go ahead and revise some of the other concepts like what is green GDP. है ना? Like for example, what are the sustainable development goals? What are SDGs? इनको revise कर लेना. Go ahead and revise what are the public goods, externalities. ठीक है? And at last, one last thing, do some international models also. Especially basic models. जैसे you should be aware about how to find out comparative advantage. And how is it different from absolute advantage? Right, beta? And what is Hexagon model? Right? Ricardian theory, Ricardo's model, Adam Smith model. है ना? So these you have to be aware about, right? And GATT, WTO, ये भी थोड़ा सा जानना जरूरी है. So this is it. The cutoff is not very high, but it is not very low also. So I would go ahead and suggest you to practice well for this exam. And as far as the cutoff was concerned of 2000, so you are given, let me give you some detail here. So you were given 90 minutes, right? In 90 minutes, you had to go ahead and solve 100 marks paper, right? And try to understand that there was negative marking. There was negative marking involved. And as far as the cutoff is concerned, it was different for different categories. So for general category, the cutoff was 46 marks out of 100. For Muslim category, the cutoff was 32.25. For Muslim OBC, the cutoff was 26.50. For Muslim women, the cutoff was 25.50. For PWD, the cutoff was 24. For Jammu and Kashmir, the cutoff was J&K, the cutoff was 31.50. And for KM, the cutoff was 16. So these are the different cutoffs, and the paper is not very tough, as I just told you. So it will be a doable paper, and I think you will be able to do well. Remember that the negative marking is minus 0.25 for every wrong answer you give. So make sure that whenever you go ahead and you attempt this paper, you consider that there is negative marking and attempt the paper accordingly. Okay, beta, all the very best for your exam, and I wish to see you at good universities doing your MA Economics. Thank you.